Hello, ni hao, bonjour, konnichiwa, hola, habari, mulishani, and wagwan. Welcome to Beyond Borders podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host, Dr. Charity Campbell Capella, known in the travel space as Dr. the Explorer, but mostly known as Dr. CK. Here at Beyond Borders, I share transformative travel experiences and cultural insights and help you see that cultural intelligence touches every part of our lives. Now join me as we set out on a journey of cultural discovery and self-reflection. From hilarious travel tales to eye-opening cultural revelations, I'm here to nourish your mind and inspire your soul. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or an armchair adventurer, each episode is packed with aha moments that'll reshape your worldview, practical tips to boost your cultural IQ and your life, inspiring stories that'll make you want to pack your bags, and maybe even a few doctora jingles along the way. So, buckle up, babes, because if you're ready to shatter cultural barriers, ignite your global mindset, and unlock the hidden corners of your own identity, then hit that subscribe button now and get ready for a mind-bending, perspective-shifting, soul-awakening adventure as we blast off to go beyond borders. Hey, empowered explorers. Welcome back to Beyond Borders. It's your girl, Dr. CK, your cultural intelligence consultant and your favorite global citizen, here to guide you through another exciting journey of cultural discovery and growth. Now, we are in part 5 of our 8-week mini-series, all about how travel has helped me cultivate cultural intelligence, or CQ for short. Last week, we had an eye-opening discussion about understanding global perspectives and the interconnectedness of our world. So if you missed it, be sure to check it out after this episode. Now, today, we're talking about one of my favorite topics: building communication skills through travel. You see, travel doesn't just show you new places. It fundamentally transforms how you connect with others. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into how travel turns you into a master communicator. All right, so let's start with a key point here. Communication is so much more than words. I studied communication back in undergrad. It was actually my specialty. It was my major. In fact, research shows that a huge chunk of our communication is nonverbal. Things like facial expressions, gestures, body language, and even the space between people when they talk, which is called proxemics. Now, when you travel, especially to places where you don't speak the local language fluently, you learn pretty quickly how to use nonverbal cues to connect. It's like unlocking a secret skill that you never knew you had. But you become hyper aware of how people convey emotions and intentions without even speaking. And that awareness makes you a more intuitive, empathetic communicator. I remember being in Taiwan and having an entire surprisingly deep conversation with a street vendor late at night using just gestures, expressions, and a whole lot of laughter. But it was a beautiful reminder that you can still form meaningful connections even without a shared language. Now, let's talk about active listening. Okay, let's talk about listening beyond words, basically. When you're traveling, you have to pay attention to more than just what's being said. You listen for tone, context, and even what's not being said. Now, this level of awareness is critical for building strong communication skills. For instance, when I was in Vietnam back in 2018, for Spring Festival. I realized how important it is to be a mindful listener. I was chatting with a local just about, daily life and where can I find the best noodles, the best pho. And I noticed that she often paused thoughtfully before answering. In that culture, silence isn't awkward. It's a sign of respect and consideration. So, learning to embrace those pauses and listen more deeply changed how I communicate both abroad and back home. It helped me to further understand why my Kenyan kaka, which means I'm not talking about Spanish word, not the Spanish kaka, but and Swahili kaka means brother. So I began to understand a little bit better why my Kenyan kaka, when he would talk to me, he would have moments of pause as well. Now, that's not Vietnam, that's Kenya. But understanding that the way he would process language to be able to communicate effectively, it started to rub off on me. From somebody being a fast talker and wanting to just rip, 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 and run, realizing how people who are multilingual, how they do slow down a bit and they do take pauses so that they can communicate more effectively and more clearly. It shifted something in me so that I could also become a better communicator. I needed to start thinking about my words. Even when I'm communicating in Spanish, which is my second language, I had to learn to embrace the pauses and listen more deeply. So that was one of the things that I truly appreciated because language barriers. They can be frustrating. And so trying to find a way to communicate effectively, even with a language barrier, it was and has been a beautiful challenge. With language barriers, they're some of the best teachers. When you're faced with them, you learn to simplify your language, use clear and concise expressions. You don't need to use all of that, grandiose vocabulary and diction and all of that. We keep it simple. And we even rely on a bit of creativity, which is where, miming comes into play and hand gestures and things. Speaking of, okay, so my first time in a taxi by myself in Shaoshan, China, which is where I moved to. I moved there to teach. And I was trying to explain where I needed to go to the taxi driver who did not speak any English. As a matter of fact, I don't think he ever met a foreigner before. And I'm just saying there are parts of China where people have never seen a foreigner. There are also parts of Vietnam. I just finished a government contract with Vietnamese government officials, and they were asking me, would I come to Vietnam? It was their very first time interacting with an American, a foreigner like me. And I just thought that it was so interesting. So back to the taxi driver. He couldn't speak a lick of English. And I couldn't speak I said ni hao and xie xie, and I'm telling you, those were the only two words that I communicated for a very long time. And it was so taxing on my brain. It was like, girl, can you learn something by now? But when I was trying to explain to him where I needed to go, and I ended up using hand signals to get my point across, and I was trying to use Google Maps, because at the time I had a Samsung phone. Samsung 8 back then was the phone, and I was trying to communicate, and thankfully, it worked. Okay, I won't say it was an epic fail. It worked. But man, I realized that communication is so much more about intention and effort than perfection. And experiences like these, they truly do teach you how to be adaptable and resourceful. And let's not forget about cultural sensitivity because being aware of how different cultures view communication is so important. It's essential. Like in some places, being direct is valued. We have that here in America, but in others, it is considered rude. It is considered very rude. Hello, Asia. Some cultures, they love small talk, while others, they get straight to the point. So when you understand these nuances, you become a more effective and respectful communicator. Traveling to Ethiopia really drove this home for me. So in Ethiopian culture, it's customary to engage in a bit of conversation and exchange pleasantries before diving into serious topics. Now, I didn't know about that. I truly did not know about any of that. I just thought that, Tatey, the guy that I was around at the time, that he was just a goofball. I thought, I was like, wow, he's very outgoing. He's such an extrovert. But no, he was just, being a part of his culture. That was how that was what he knew to do. You engage, you talk, you have fun, you make jokes, and then you get down to business. I had no idea about that. None whatsoever. But once, I wasn't just going to be snooty or not talk to him back or anything like that. And as I engaged, I realized that it's a sign of respect and genuine interest in the person that you're talking to. So that experience taught me to slow down and be present and truly honor the cultural communication styles of others. My communication style is not the, end all be all. It's not the holy grail. Not in the least bit. And so because I was open to learning about the communication style of Tatey at that time. That's his name. Don't ask me how to spell it because the way he said Tatey, I promise I thought he said Teddy at first, which is my husband's name. I thought he said Teddy. He was like Tatey. Like I have a video with him that I'll put in the show notes. I can link it. And so my long layover in Ethiopia, but amazing. Just truly a wonderful experience that I had. So, all right, let's bring this all together with some key takeaways. Okay, so here's the first one. Travel sharpens your nonverbal communication skills, making you a more intuitive and empathetic person. Number 2, it enhances your ability to listen deeply, paying attention to more than just words. Number 3, overcoming language barriers teaches you adaptability and patience. Whew, definitely patience. And finally, embracing cultural sensitivity helps you connect with people on a deeper, more meaningful level. So, here's this week's challenge for you. I gave you a challenge last week, and I'm giving you another one this week. Next time you're traveling or even interacting with someone from a different culture, pay close attention to how you communicate. Not necessarily what you communicate, what you say, or why you communicate, but how. Be open, be respectful, and most of all, be present. I promise the communication skills that you gain will serve you well for a lifetime. Listen, I want to thank you for listening to Beyond Borders podcast. I can't express my gratitude enough. It humbles me to know that you tune in every week to learn from me. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Beyond Borders podcast. Download today's episode, rate, comment, and share so we can ignite a cultural revolution all across the globe. I also invite you to connect with me on YouTube, Pinterest, and my newest adventure, Substack. Let me know what kind of cultural insights and travel experiences you'd like to see more of. Also, if you have any questions or would like to be a guest on the show, please email me at charity@drtheexplorer.com and someone will respond in a timely manner. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, remember to keep your mind open and your suitcase ready. See you in the next episode as we go beyond borders.